Clement's getting his coffee.
Morning, guys. Welcome. I can see some people joining now, so we'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll leave it to the top of the hour and give you guys a chance to grab a coffee or a cup of tea, or in my case, a Coke Zero. Terrible habit, I know. To settle in, and we'll get started. We'll get started shortly. Bit of housekeeping, as you guys join. If there's any issues with the audio, if you can see my lips moving but you can't hear anything, send us a quick chat message and we'll get it sorted out for you. Morning, guys. For those of you who just joined, we'll get started in just a few moments. We are at the top of the hour, but we'll give you guys we'll give everyone a bit of a chance to join. So grab a coffee, get settled in, and why don't we kick off in about a minute or so? And again, just a bit of housekeeping. Any issues with the audio or the visual, just shoot them through on the chat message. You can see my lips moving with no noise coming out. Let me know, although my wife will probably appreciate that. Bit of a joke to start us off. Can see my fellow presenters. I didn't get a laugh, so that's okay.
Because we've heard that one before.
You have. All right, we're going to give it one more minute, and guys, then we'll kick off. Ruchi, I've just had a quick message from Allan. Would you be able to send him the link to join? You're on mute, but if you can hear me, that'd be great.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll send it to Allan.
Great. Okay, guys. Alrighty, we are. Let me check my iPhone device. We are a little bit past the top of the hour, so why don't we get started? Guys, a huge thank you to everyone for joining. It's awesome to see you all on the session. It should be a fantastic one. What I want to do before we kick off is to introduce you to our team. And let me tell you what a fantastic group of people to work with across the Ingram and the Commvault organisation. By way of introduction, my name is Leaney. I'm the Distribution Sales Manager for Commvault in Australia and New Zealand. And my role is to look after the relationship with our distributors and also many of our key partners within our partner ecosystem. And we are, thrilled to be working with Ingram Micro on the Commvault business. They've just joined our family in the last sort of 8 weeks or so, and already providing a wonderful support for our partner ecosystem. So on the call, we have Mandy Reinke, who's our National BDM for Commvault for Ingram Micro Australia. We have Clement Museka, who's the Solutions Architect for Commvault with Ingram. Ruchi Vashi, who's the Product Manager for Commvault with Ingram. I've worked with Ruchi for many years, and you could not be in better hands from a product management perspective. So wonderful to be working with Ruchi again. You now know me. Hopefully you now know and love me. And we also have Allan Wang, who's our metallic sales lead for Commvault in Australia and New Zealand. So just before I pass to Mandy, a bit of housekeeping. Again, if there's any issues, shoot us a chat message. We have a moderator on board to handle any issues that may come up. But without further ado, Mandy, I'm going to pass to you. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for the introduction, Liam. So I'm Mandy Reinke. I'm the BDM for Commvault, and I'm today going to talk about this webinar, which will discuss why Metallic is the ideal product positioned to protect Microsoft 365 workloads using a dedicated SaaS offering built on the very robust Commvault architecture. So the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated cloud adoption and forced organizations to rapidly adapt to new challenges presented by this evolving data landscape. So the general workforce has been forced to work from home. And I guess these new ways of working, these flexible ways of working, has given the need for your data to be immediately accessible, shareable, and resting in the cloud. So Metallic is a solution built on the enterprise-grade Commvault architecture, which to deliver a cloud backup as a service solution. And I'm really happy to inform you that Commvault has been for the 10th time in a row named leader in the 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Enterprise Backup and Recovery Solutions. So I guess I've already mentioned the rapid acceleration of cloud adoption, and this has seen the rise of many challenges for people managing their most important asset, and that's their data. I'm also very proud to mention the strong partnership between Commvault and Microsoft, making Commvault and Metallic the only backup products with dedicated access on the Microsoft website. And this is something I think Commvault's really proud of. And Liam, being the expert in the Commvault space, I guess you're best placed to talk more about this partnership.
Thanks, Mandy. And look, expert might be a bit of an overshot, but I'll see what I can do. No, look, in all seriousness, guys, the Microsoft client alignment is a really big factor to discuss when talking about the Commvault solution. Commvault's been a tier 1 partner for Microsoft for over 25 years now. And, a lot of companies say that they're a Microsoft partner, they work very closely together, but, to the extent that Microsoft was actually one of Commvault's original investors, back during the early years, they recognized they didn't actually have a backup solution at the time. So they invested in Commvault to build that up with them as they grew. Some interesting facts around the Microsoft engagement. And as we move forward in the presentation, it's going to become clear as to why we emphasize this. But Microsoft essentially globally backs up all of its own internal systems, backs it all up on Commvault. And if there's any gamers out there, I'm in my mid-40s, but I still like to do a bit of gaming to de-stress. Interestingly, all of the 100 million or so Xbox Live gamers that are out there, all their data, all their high scores, all that kind of stuff is all backed up on Commvault. And you want a really sound platform for that, because if you ever met a gamer that's lost their high scores that they've accumulated over 2 years, they're pretty cranky about it, right? So over 100 million users there, which is fantastic. And if you look at the product development side of things, one of the most important elements of the partnership is that the technical teams between both organizations work extremely closely together, to the extent when Microsoft is building up a new platform or enhancing an existing platform, both of the development and technical teams will work together from a nascent stage to ensure that Commvault, is highly interoperable and connected with the Microsoft product or solution. So it's that co-development of the solutions that actually brings us in, so much closer together. Now we're talking about Metallic today, and in terms of how the partnership pertains to Metallic specifically, Metallic sits within the Microsoft environment, and because of the strength of the partnership, we've got sort of a red carpet, if you will, into the Microsoft environment. And what that means from a practical perspective is that Commvault enjoys, higher speeds and greater integration, I should say. Since your data actually stays within, within the Microsoft backbone. And in terms of field engagement, so working with you as you work with your customers, Commvault and Microsoft are out there selling together, obviously with Ingram as a critical part of that ecosystem. So, we are a strategic partner. We're in at the ground level from a development perspective, and actually we're actually the only strategic partner in the data backup and management space that Microsoft that Microsoft talks about, which is fantastic. So, I'll pass back to Mandy in a sec, but ultimately this benefits your customers, as it's not just Commvault is not just a bolt-on scenario, it's complementary engineering at its core, working together. So Mandy, hopefully I covered that. Back to you.
Yes, that was great. Just showing the credibility, Commvault working with Microsoft, and just how much faith they have in us. I'm also the migration of workloads to the Office 365 applications, namely Teams, Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, has remained on a rapid rise, with 90% of organisations expected to use part of the cloud for their data management strategies. And a key point to note, there are 250 million daily Teams users. This is a 450% increase since the COVID pandemic started. There is a notable rise in content collaboration using SharePoint Online with about 200 million monthly users. Now, the reason for this is it's no longer just an instant platform messaging service. It's now become like a real collaboration tool, which it was originally designed for. The frightening part, though, is that 81% have reported not using third-party backups. So they're relying on Microsoft to be backing up their data. Now, I don't think many people know this, but the native Microsoft only backs up data for different applications between 28 and 93 days. So you may think your data is backed up, but actually it's not unless you're using a third-party backup. So with the enormous footprint of data being housed in Office 365, it's critical that your organizations understand the business challenges presented by this evolving data landscape and why your workloads need to be sufficiently protected. Sorry, I went a bit ahead there. There is also now, organizations are finding themselves presented with a rapidly evolving data landscape, and due to the adoption of this technology platforms to fulfill business requirements, data workloads exist on physical servers, on virtual machines, in containers, and in all different places in the cloud. So people don't know where their data is, it's fragmented, it's in silos. Working from home has increased the vulnerabilities to internal sources, and IT admins have no insight as to where the data could be. It's also increased the attacks on, like ransomware attacks are on the rise, cybercrime's up by 400%. If you need to have your data like quickly restored, it's not that easy to do. Cloud adoption has made this a massive challenge to organizations. And so I think it's an immediate priority for organizations to understand how to efficiently manage their data. There's also hidden egress costs where customers are getting stung. Many organizations are being stung because, they're getting all these excess usage charges with this rapid growth. And then there's another key thing to note is it's important for organizations to fully grasp their responsibility against what the cloud vendor's responsibility is and what their responsibility is. And Microsoft is a really great example of this because they have a shared responsibility model that defines the separation of the responsibilities between themselves and you as the customer. With this, Microsoft is responsible for the uptime of the cloud infrastructure and the applications and the SLAs. So they make sure your data privacy is maintained using tenancy agreements and adhere to any regulatory and compliance, example GDPR and other controls. They also replicate your data in geo-redundant locations. So it doesn't really matter where you are, you can basically restore your data. But then your data is your own responsibility. And I'm not sure that, many customers actually understand this. So as mentioned before, most enterprise data retention policies and recovery requirements go beyond the native recycle bin offered by Microsoft, which is between 28 and 93 days. So support levels offered by Microsoft may not actually meet the recovery time objectives in the event you run into an event that requires quick recovery. And Liam, I guess this shared responsibility model is something that I guess would be close to your heart because, with that Microsoft partnership. So is there anything more that you're seeing that you can kind of expand on with this shared responsibility model?
Yeah, thanks, Mandy. Look, I think you've covered it really well, but I guess the only thing I'd really add here is that when you're out there with customers in the field and you're talking about their 365 environments, I always ask a really simple question, and that is basically, Mr. Customer, to what extent is your data backed up and protected within the MS 365 environment? And it's not a fear exercise, it's not a gotcha exercise by any means. It's just trying to get an understanding of what the customer sees and what the customer understands to be the degree to which they're protected. And I will say that the responses are generally from the extent of worrying to quite worrying in terms of what their perceptions are. They assume because it's in the Microsoft platform that it meets all of their regulatory compliance, their e-discovery requirements, when in fact it doesn't. And I think the way to look at this is that where Commvault comes in as a third party is in enhancing the capabilities of what is already a brilliant platform, the 365 platform. And Microsoft themselves will say, you know what, explore third-party options to enhance your capabilities around data backup and management. So I guess the other key takeaway is, other than asking that question to your customers, the other key takeaway for me would be, regardless of the type of deployment, there are 4 responsibilities that are always going to be retained by the customer, and it's up to the customer to, working with their partner to implement and manage, and that's the data, that's the endpoints, that's the account, and the account management. And I think in terms of, Mandy will touch on this moving forward, but you mentioned, 81%, right, of 365 users reported not using third-party backups. So potentially that's 81% of all the seats out there that are basically, between 30 to 90 days recycle bin is their version of data backup. So to me, that's one of the key takeaways from today in terms of what the opportunity is. So Mandy, back to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Liam, for your insight. So Office 365 is, I guess, the most highly adopted SaaS application in the world and transforming the modern workplace, as users are not limited by location. And this has been, I guess, a critical thing since the pandemic of how people are able to actually have continued working. Without this, I don't think, the workforce could have continued. When we talk about Office 365, I'm also referring to not just Exchange mailboxes, but the entire suite of the Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Exchange only. And as mentioned before, there's 250 million users on Teams daily. And I've also mentioned that it's, no longer just a messaging service. It's critical to basically the workplace and collaboration in real time and a central repository for a lot of organizations. So the mailboxes need to be protected, and it's critical to any organization. Office 365 affords organizations the capability to budget and IT spend because of its subscription-based model. And I guess, the no maintenance overheads as application patches and upgrades are handled by Microsoft is key to any business because they can actually, I guess, budget for this. So that's, you know, music to the ears of any finance or IT department with budgets. Moving along. Why, I guess, why protect Office 365? And, you know, there's a key point, like a key saying, your data is only as good as your last backup, and your backup only as good as your ability to restore it. So I guess with ransomware and cyber attacks, you know, accelerated and by 400%, and organizations losing critical data, where some have been forced to pay a ransom. It's also important to note that threats are not just coming from external sources, they're also coming from, you know, internal attacks, and these attacks are not intentional. They, like 63% of successful attacks come from internal sources, and 47% of SaaS data loss also comes from just user and admin errors. So with this in mind, it's critical production data is at the mercy of an agile and enterprise-grade backup application to protect against these attacks, and to be able to recover data, you know, from just attacks and accidental deletion, which happens all the time now that more people are working from home. Next thing I want to talk about is, I guess, the metallic BAS, you know, the comprehensive SaaS suite of solutions in the Commvault portfolio. And this is something that I'm going to pass you on to Allan Wang, who's the sales lead, to discuss, as he is, I guess, the expert in the metallic space. So Allan, I was hoping you could expand on this for me.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, everybody. Thanks for joining. Allan Wang here, based out of Sydney, look after the metallic business. Forgive the name there, had some issue trying to join. So, but as a whole, I think you can see here categorically, there's really three major categories as far as the depth and the breadth of the solution. But this is as of today, and I will emphasize on that purely because the speed of innovation for metallic, it really is second to none. Particularly is because a lot of the capabilities that we're bringing, we're not building from scratch. I'm sure Mandy and Liam's already touched on this. Metallic's all built in-house, meaning we have a lot of the code, consistent code base already built. We're just delivering it as a cloud service in a SaaS fashion. So, you know, again, coming back to it, we're bringing these new workloads on that's at the speed of knots. So the three major categories you can see here, I'll start sort of on the top left, and then I'll move around. Hybrid cloud portfolio, so all the infrastructure, the workloads you typically see in an enterprise, so VMs, databases, unstructured, structured data. But the beauty there is, even though we're delivering the data protection as a SaaS fashion, we give the customer the flexibility of where they want to store that data, and irrespective of where that data resides. So hybrid cloud, meaning it can live either on-prem or it can live in a public cloud as well. And where we provide that flexibility, it really means that you as a partner and for your customer, you can provide that flexibility. We've already have invested, you know, infrastructure that you can leverage. You can simply point it to there. If you have an existing cloud arrangement with either AWS or Azure, you can simply point to their S3 bucket. But last but not least, we do provide a third option as well, which is the top right corner there. You see, we call it Metallic Cloud Storage Service, or MCSS for short. Really there is, we provide something that's seamless, particularly if you're writing data with Metallic, as well as if you're an existing Commvault customer today, you can simply point and click. But there's really two major benefits there. Benefit number one is because we manage a storage account for you, a lot of the credentials not exposed. As we all know, one of the best practices in terms of security is that ideally you want to have an isolated copy, a copy that's away from your production. And because we manage that for you, the credentials are not exposed, therefore you're protected from both external and internal threats. And benefit number two is that with all Metallic cloud storage service, we don't charge any egress ever. So when you're doing things like DR testing, when you have any recovery exercises that you need to perform, you can simply do it without any concerns around any surprises. Category number 2 is really our SaaS application workloads. Of course, we're focusing on Office 365 or Microsoft 365 in this instance, but you can see we protect out of the box 3 of the most highly adopted SaaS workloads. Microsoft 365 obviously being number 1, as we saw the significant growth, particularly driven by COVID-19, but of course Salesforce being number 2, and Dynamics in the Microsoft suite that we can protect. So straight out of the box, but SaaS for SaaS or cloud to cloud, it really just makes sense. You're already on that journey for a reason. A lot of the apparent reasons that Mandy and Liam had already gone through. Straight out of the box, you get that with Metallic, right? In terms of simplicity, no infrastructure setup, deployment, implementation, management, all of those things is why you chose SaaS to begin with. It's that, in terms of time to value is vastly accelerated. And with all of our SaaS workloads, we provide unlimited storage out of the box, meaning you never have to do capacity planning, forecasting, hardware refreshes and the like. So all of those mundane and administrative tasks out the window. Last but not least, particularly in this remote working era, I think endpoints is something that a lot of people, right, when we talk about edge to the data center, edge is really becoming more and more apparent. Everybody's working from home. So desktops, laptops, particularly for your execs or employees that have a lot of sensitive data, you want to make sure that they're protected. So again, out of the box, you can do it in a SaaS fashion with Metallic. With that, I'll pass it over back to you, Mandy.
Thank you so much, Allan. That was very comprehensive. And look, if anyone wants to know more about this, I know Allan has offered to have discussions and conversations with any of you on the Metallic products. Sorry, Allan, I just offered your services. So the other things I want to highlight is basically with the 365 organizations can safeguard Exchange, Teams, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, Project Online, and groups configured in Office 365. Key point to note is the setup is really easy and fast, and we're going to demonstrate this. Clement's going to demonstrate this shortly, and can be done within less than 15 minutes. So you don't require any complex planning, and low-level configuration is required. The other thing I haven't mentioned yet, though, is Metallic leverages the Microsoft Graph API to configure Azure and Office 365 with a 3-step process. Unlimited elastic Azure storage is provided, which takes out the headache of growing volumes and aggregates and scaling up storage infrastructure to cater for additional back-end storage. There's flexible retention policies. It can be applied to targeted mailboxes, so you can apply appropriate retention for different departments. And there's also flexible search and restore options. So be it granular, point in time, and out-of-place restores are available, unlike the limited options available in cloud-native apps. The other thing is there's unlimited retention is available for Office 365 data. And this is, there's no hidden egress or ingress charges, and so you can really predict your IT spend. I'll give you an example. So say your IT spend is limited to the active, it's only limited to the active users in a billing cycle, which is monthly, which makes budgeting and forecasting easier for companies. So if a subscription license, say, has 500 users in January, and then I guess in February you've dropped down to 450, the February bill is for the 450 users, but the data for all the users remains available for recovery up to the retention period set in the plan. So if infinite retention is selected, data remains available for recovery. So you're always able to know what your costs will be. When it comes to protecting your data against malicious threats like ransomware, Metallic Office 365 backup really shines. It's, as mentioned before, built on the robust Commvault architecture, and it's hosted, so it's really combining the best of both technologies. Your data remains with the Microsoft backbone, and the Metallic offers enterprise-grade security controls like zero trust access, immutable backups, air gapping, security posture insights using the security IQ dashboards, and anomaly detection. And some of these things Clement is also going to demonstrate shortly to you. So basically, while the Office 365, while the vulnerabilities to organizations and the attack surface is expanded, your Office 365 data is encrypted in flight and at rest in immutable storage that's air-gapped from the production environment in a separate security domain. So in the event an attack occurs on production data, backup data is safe as it can only be accessed during secure APIs in the isolated environment managed by Metallic. Then there's also the zero trust access controls and the anomaly detection that triggers alerts to security admins for unusual file activity. And the next thing I want to talk about, which is, I guess, what will interest you all, is how is Metallic, I guess, consumed. And it's a subscription-based licensing model, and it's a tiered model. So I guess the more you use, the more you really save. It's licensing is tiered based on the number of users, but shared mailboxes and groups are not metered. If you go to the website, there is a calculator, but which you can get an indicative pricing. But with our dedicated pricing team, we're happy to give you the exact pricing if you come to us and just want to work out what you'd be up for. And also we have deal registration we can help you with. And yeah, and there's also a free trial available, which can be up and running in minutes, and we can get Clement to help you set up if you want some assistance in that. And now for the fun part, I'm going to pass you over to Clement to actually do the demonstration. Clement, without further ado.
Okay, let's just get things started. Can you all see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thanks, Mandy, Allan, and Liam for such a great presentation. And as mentioned before, I'm the Commvault Solutions Architect here at Ingram, and I'll take you through a brief demo of Metallic, which is Commvault's cloud-hosted SaaS backup and recovery service. So after you log in, this is the Metallic Hub, which is our Azure-hosted user interface for Metallic, and the hub is pretty much accessible from anywhere with an internet connection, and it's a single pane of glass for all your Metallic workloads, really. And you know, other vendors would normally trouble you with the point solutions that fragment your data in silos, which pretty much makes it difficult for administration, insights, and reporting into your environment and just to track your backups and management. So here are the tiled workloads that we can see for what Metallic can protect. We have Microsoft Dynamics for your CRM applications, is file and object for your Azure Blob, Azure Files, your traditional Linux and Windows file system backups. We have VM and Kubernetes, which is Azure VM, Hyper-V, VMware, and AVC. Databases will protect your Microsoft SQL servers, Oracle, and SAP HANA. And endpoints, as Allan alluded to earlier, for your laptops and other devices, edge devices. And Salesforce will protect your production and sandbox environments in Salesforce. So today we are really talking about Office 365, but I also wanted to mention that you get free Active Directory backups with any of the mentioned Metallic subscriptions. So it's an extended service that Metallic offers to or use customers that adopt any of these subscriptions, which is really a great benefit from Metallic. And Office 365 will obviously protect your Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Project Online. So we'll just jump in quickly into Office 365 to see the tiled workloads that we can see here. And from here, you can see that we have a high-level view of our protected data sources in this event. And you can see that we have the weekly success rate where you can track the success rates for your backups. And if it doesn't give you the 100%, you can obviously just jump in and raise a support call with our team. We can see that we have 24 Exchange mailboxes here in this lab that I'm running, and 17 OneDrive users, SharePoint sites, and 5 teams that are configured. But I just want to jump to the subscription usage tile here. You'll see that we are being metered only for 17 users. The reason is, as would have been mentioned earlier, we don't meter for shared and group mailboxes or any inactive users from that leave the organization. So in this case, we have 17 users being metered for, but we are actually protecting 24 Exchange mailboxes. So some of those mailboxes are shared and group mailboxes that are free of charge. I also have to stress that we will still protect the data for any inactive users in line with your retention policy. So if you use the default infinite retention that comes with Office 365 plans, then your data is always available for restore up to infinitely, as long as you have a subscription. And in the event also that you go over your subscription, so let's say you end up having more users within that billing month that join your organization, you are not penalized, but you will just be billed for those additional users for that month at the same pricing. So that's quite a great benefit there. We'll just jump onto the plans, which show you the plans are pretty much a combination of your backup and backup frequency, which is your RPOs, and how long you intend to keep your data, which is your retention. So for Office 365 workloads, we bundle unlimited metallic storage and unlimited retention as well in the per user price. So you will never get any additional costs outside of just the user consumption that you have. And as such, you can then protect your largest user mailboxes and SharePoint sites at no additional cost. We can also see here that the default retention for Office 365 the default retention is infinite, but you also have a choice to customize your retention according to your organization's data strategy. So you can create custom plans that really define what you want to back up, and you can also customize it to different departments. So your sales department can have 1 year retention, your finance can have 3 years retention, and the like. And you can also apply that separately to individual mailboxes as well. And metallic cloud storage, as would have been mentioned earlier, requires no infrastructure to set up. So it's pretty much quick and easy to set up. So I'll just show you here. And at the bottom, you have a user management panel where you can configure your users. You can view documentation. You can manage and track cases and log cases with support, and also use this chat window for chatting with our engineers if you are having any issues. So we'll just jump on quickly to show how to configure an Exchange environment. It's all done interactively within this wizard, and it's pretty quick. You have an option to use Express configuration. So with Express configuration, all you need here, you would just punch in whatever you want to name your organization, and then you need your global admin account. Once you have your global admin account, you go and punch in create Azure app. What then happens is everything will happen within under 5 steps, and your application registration in Azure will be done, and then an Exchange Online Service account is created. It syncs that account with Azure and prompts you to authorize the app. And once you're done, you will be able to actually see your workloads. So you will be able to once you have configured that, you'll pretty much come where we are here, and we'll go into see how to configure our workloads. So from the content tab within your Exchange, you are able to have the option to add all users, or you can use AD groups so that no mailboxes are missed. Alternatively, you can add users manually. So you have the all users option there, and or use AD groups. And as we mentioned earlier, all public folders and Office 365 group mailboxes are also configured from this point here, but they are not metered So you can use that auto discovery to just keep track of your account. So we'll just jump onto the mailboxes. Once you have added your users, you'll be able to see your users from there. And if you want to perform a restore, it's as simple as you have a granular option to either restore a mailbox or restore messages. So you'll be able to jump in and perform your restore. So you jump on to the granular items that you see there, your message, and you can just jump in and select restore. You have an option to restore the message to Exchange Online or to a folder location, which will be a PST or the message itself. You can restore the message to its original location in the mailbox, or you can restore to a separate location, which can be any mailbox within the environment. The other thing that I wanted to show here is we have this advanced search feature, which you can use to search for your messages. So you can pretty much just search for your message and you'll be able to browse from within. And once you get your message there, you can use those metadata from this point to search for messages. All right, so we'll jump on to Microsoft Teams, which as mentioned earlier, has become more than just an instant messaging platform, but has become more of a collaborative and repository so you can actually perform granular restores of Teams messages. I would like to mention here that many organizations, many vendors, backup vendors may claim that they can backup Teams, but what they can only backup is they back it up through Exchange Online, and that limits their ability to actually natively restore Teams messages in place. With Metallic, though, you do get, because of our strong partnership with Microsoft, we have early access to the Teams Graph API, and therefore we have native control to actually restore Teams messages. So we can you can actually quickly just restore a team to its original location, or you can choose to restore it to another team as you wish. Last but not least, I'm just going to jump in to show you one of our new security features, which is the Security IQ dashboard. And this feature gives you a comprehensive look into how Metallic protects your data, which is the enterprise security grade controls, or part of the enterprise security grade controls that we spoke of. And it leverages the security best practices to give you different insights. Some are informational, like your audit trail events here, so you can actually see who is doing what in your environment and who has made any changes, so you are able to track. You can track account, you can have insight into your account lockout times, and if you have infinite account lockout, you might need to make changes to that. You can also track your anomalous conditions within your COMCEL or your environment, and your anomalous conditions include the job run times, if there is any unusual RPOs being missed, of any offline servers that are not being backed up. You're able to track unusual backup times, which might in some cases indicate a ransomware attack, so you can actually quickly jump onto it. Your unusual file activity tracks any inconsistent or anomalous file activity within your environment, and quickly alerts and isolates those files to mitigate against the spread of a ransomware attack. You can also jump in to configure additional authorization for deletions and restores, so that you don't get malicious or accidental tasks where an user can go and delete data. So they will need additional approval, which comes through in the form of an email or within the portal, so an administrator can authorize those. And then at the last but not least, you can also enroll AWS and Azure to manage your encryption keys outside of Metallic for added security. So that pretty much brings me to the end of my quick demonstration. Do we have any questions? All right, whilst you get, if there are any questions, I'll just pass on to Mandy quickly to talk about the value proposition and why you're using Ingram.
Thanks, Clement. I hope people got a lot of benefit out of that. I certainly did. I've got to ask if we had any questions, so I'll just wrap up with why the Ingram value proposition, and then I'll open up for any questions. So why come to Ingram? What's our value proposition? We have a local dedicated team for all your Commvault and Metallic inquiries. We have a accredited Commvault specialist quotes team, which are also local with rapid response times, and our quotes team typically respond within 2 hours. We have product management across all Commvault and Metallic products. We have a dedicated solutions architect, which is Clement, and he's always happy to, do any partner meetings and help with any end users. We also have deal registration, discounted pricing, access to rebates and campaigns like the education promotion. Excuse me. And we have partner enablement and certification training. I might pass you on to Leah.
Yeah, thanks, Mandy. And hopefully you're okay. Get a glass of water. That's a powerful cough. Anyway, hopefully you're okay. We did have a couple of questions come in, so I'll just go through. We've got, I think, 4 or 5, but let's see if we can answer 3 and see how we go. So the first question is, do you need to purchase storage for M365 or Dynamics 365 protection? So if Mandy might be out of action with the cough, but Clement, do you want to cover that one?
Can you just repeat the question? Do you need to purchase
storage for M365 or Dynamics 365?
That's okay. I'll take that one.
Well,
No,
yes.
all of our SaaS workloads, including Office 365 and Microsoft 365 Dynamics and Salesforce, all storage is included. There's unlimited storage out of the box. In fact, there's unlimited retention out of the box as well, because when you don't need to plan for storage, we thought we'd just give you unlimited retention as well, which that part is customizable. But again, you never have to pay for storage or egress on the SaaS workloads.
Awesome. Thanks, Allan. Second question, does eDiscovery require additional Microsoft licensing?
No. In fact, it may potentially, I'm just trying to give a succinct answer. The short answer is no, but it may potentially even be able to save you some Microsoft licenses there. That's not the intention. But what I mean by that is, if you're using the Microsoft E5 licenses purely on the compliance search capability, the eDiscovery feature can do exactly that. But of course, there's a whole different array of other benefits why you would use it. But no, you don't. There's no additional Microsoft license required.
Right, awesome. Thank you, Allan. And last question here, I think we're almost at time. Are there any free labs available for the platform or trials per se?
Absolutely. There is a free 30-day trial that you can spin up in literally as little as 15 minutes. I've even seen shorter than that, but that's the marketing spiel. And you simply head to metallic.io/trial, or I'm sure we'll be posting that website to you later on.
Awesome. Thank you, Allan. Guys, look, I think we'll probably close it out there. So I just wanted to say again a huge thank you to everybody for joining us and jumping on. Hopefully we've delivered some value for you today, and the entire team here stands ready to assist with any any customer engagement, any desire to sort of dig a bit deeper into the platform. The wonderful Ingram Micro team is absolutely here to support you alongside the Commvault team. Thanks to our presenters. Thanks everyone again for joining. And post this session, we'll send out a quick note to everybody with a few follow-up resources to help you explore the platform in a little bit more detail. So with that, have a wonderful day and thank you again.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.